Hi, everybody. Coming up is an amazing, amazing episode about dreams and dream working. Tzivia Gover, say hi, Tzivia,
Hi, everybody.
is joining me. You can't miss this. This is amazing. And you talk about using dreams to make your life better. Holy smoke. If you're like me, the top of your mind is going to blow off. Okay, so see you next time. Thanks. Hello, hello, and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us today. We're going to talk about something really, really interesting. We're going to talk about dreams and how to use the healing power of our dreams to help us in so many ways. My guest today is Tzivia Gover, and she's the author of a book called Dreaming on the Page. Tap into your mindset, tap into your midnight mind. I was thinking about mindset because it's all about mindset. But tap into your midnight mind to supercharge your writing. And so we're going to talk about dreams in general because that's something that every one of us do all the time. Sylvia, welcome to our Finding Better podcast. Thanks for coming.
I'm so happy to be here with you today, John.
All right. Well, listen, our podcast is called Finding Better, right? And dreaming is something, like I said, that we all do all the time. So how, what is this about dreams and how can we use our dreams, to find better in our lives?
Well, that's exactly what my mission and my work with dreams is all about, is letting people know that you have these tools, this inner guidance system inside you. You have this font of inspiration, of guidance, of wisdom that's visiting you every night in your dreams. And so many of us have been separated from that. We've forgotten that dreams are important. We've been told that they're just random neuronal firings and they don't have meaning, or they're just about, we ate pizza last night and
Yeah.
our brain cells are just, in chaos. But there is so much more to them. And when we connect to them, we connect to all of those gifts.
When you were just talking about how we've forgotten our dreams, right? Um, as a kid, yeah, well, we all have nightmares, right? And some people have more nightmares than others. And it's one of those things when you have them, you want to train your mind to forget. You don't want to remember those dreams, right? And so it's one of those things where we go, I don't want to remember it. And so I think for me, at least, that has been part of, my evolution. It's really interesting because I don't have bad dreams anymore. And I'd love to talk with you about that.
Absolutely.
But I think that in some ways we condition ourselves. Our parents say, "Oh no, don't worry about it. That's never going to happen." So now talk, help us understand.
I would
Yeah,
love
how
to.
unwind all that. Yeah.
John, I love that because you zoomed right into the issue. So,
Okay.
what a lot of people don't realize is that, we have an epidemic of insomnia in our country.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
part of the reason for that is, consciously or unconsciously, people are afraid of their nightmares. They've grown so
Yes.
afraid of their nightmares. Some people even have PTSD nightmares, and those are
Yeah.
really deeply
Absolutely.
unsettling. But even just disturbing dreams, or even just dreams we don't understand, we're people who want to know. We want knowledge. We want easy answers. And dreams open us up to mystery. So whether it's a full-on nightmare, or whether it's just, oh my goodness, I wake up every morning with these unsettling
Hmm.
dreams, people avoid them, and then they end up avoiding sleep. So it sort of becomes a
Right.
cycle. So for me, it was the opposite. As a small girl, like so many children, I had nightmares. And I also had these really fun and exciting dreams.
Hmm.
And so from a very young age, I got it. I got it that I'm going to go to sleep each night And I don't know if I'm going to have like a cartoon fantasy, little girl
Yeah,
imagination, or if I'm going to have a really scary dream. For some
right.
reason, that fascinated me. And I got interested. And when I got older, like so many of us, I did not have that ideal Brady Bunch childhood. I had a
Hmm.
very disquieting, sometimes very painful childhood.
Which is not abnormal. I
Exactly.
think the Brady Bunch situation
That's
is the
fantasy.
abnormal, right?
Exactly.
And you know,
Real
we're
life
me,
isn't like that.
yeah, yeah.
But what I discovered early on as a teenager is that my dreams could be where I build up my courage. Like I almost used my dreams as a training ground. So when these nightmares came, instead of running away from them literally in the dream or figuratively, in my mind and heart, I started to turn toward them and to ask questions of the characters in the dream and of the dream itself. What are you trying to tell me? What do you
Okay,
need
okay, okay,
to know?
okay. So I want to unwind that what you just said
Go
because you just kind of blew my mind. Um, so you're saying that you were able to control you were able to control your part of the narrative in the dream, in your dreams,
Eventually, sometimes yes,
eventually.
sometimes yes. So
Okay.
like, that's something else we all can. And I wouldn't use the word control, but interact with. So be a more conscious participant in.
Interesting. You know that when you said the word sometimes,
Mhm.
it just hit me because I have had dreams. You know, when I was younger, I had this one recurring dream, and maybe we could talk about this, but one recurring dream where this really big guy would grab me here and he'd push me up against the wall and he'd just laugh at me. And I would
Mhm.
just flail. And I'd have this dream and I'd wake up in a cold sweat. And and there was no interaction. I could not do any interaction in that dream. What I ended up doing was taking martial arts. I'm now a fifth degree black belt. I don't have that dream anymore. So maybe you could talk about that. But and how that kind of thing helps your dreams. But I'm fascinated that you were a how you were able to find a way to become part call it a consciously unconscious part of your dreams. How did that how did you build that muscle?
That's exactly what it is, building a muscle. So here's
Okay.
here's what happens. And what I love about all of this, it sounds mystical and esoteric, but it's not. Just about everyone can do this. So I built the muscle of remembering my dreams, which is the first step by being interested in them and writing them down. I be I started to have the experience that everybody has probably had from time to time where I had a nightmare. And in the nightmare, I became conscious enough to say, oh my goodness, this is a nightmare. It's scary. I'm going to wake myself up. Almost all of us have had that experience,
Yeah.
right? You have a
Yeah.
nightmare. It's so scary that suddenly you realize this is a dream. I'm just going to wake
Yeah.
myself up.
Yeah. You know it's a nightmare. You know you're in a dream.
And
And
that is the
yeah.
point of power. The minute you know it's a dream, you can choose to wake yourself up. Or you can make another choice and say, I'm going to stay in here and figure out what's going on. So you
Oh,
can say,
interesting.
okay, I'm having a nightmare. I'm the powerful one. So, attacker, stop. Person who's shaking me by the collar, go gentle. I want to know what you want from me. Can you tell me gently in a way I can hear it? So, one or two things will happen. Either that person will dissolve or disappear, or they might say, I want you to know that you're not taking yourself seriously or that you're avoiding, X, Y, or Z. So all kinds of things
Huh.
can happen. Or what I did at the beginning for years when I first started to do this, I started to just fight back. And that was really important for me. Like you did through martial arts, you were fighting back in your
Yeah.
way. And I would do
Yeah.
it in the dream. And my first step was to confront these aggressors and take them down, because in a dream I can do what I want. But over time, I learned a better response, was to see if I could turn toward them and ask, what do you want from me? What do you know that I need to know?
You know, just real quick, I have found that when I had nightmares and I found myself knowing I was in a nightmare, I just wanted to wake up. I just said, get me the heck out of here, right? And I would wake up. But what you just said was was something I never even thought of. Is that you're in a nightmare, and we'll talk about I'd like to talk about nice dreams too, right? Where you want
Absolutely.
to stay. But in this case, you're in a nightmare, and it, it, you chose to stay in the nightmare.
Just a
And
little.
really interesting.
So, John, the important thing for people listening into our conversation to know
Uh-huh.
and to remind ourselves is that you don't have to be able to get that's called lucid dreaming, when you know you're in the dream and you can ask questions and make choices. You don't have to be able to do that. Not everybody can, or not right away. What you can do is when you wake up from the nightmare, first get yourself calm and safe, because it really is like a little trauma to the system. Take that seriously, take good
Yep.
care of yourself, baby yourself a little. And then, if you can, get to your journal, get to the page, or in any creative form, it could be through artwork, then interact with the dream. You can do this awake.
So that
So,
that that I was just going to say this is the conscious part of it. But of
exactly.
course, you have to have the courage. I mean,
Yeah,
and I call it courage
this courage.
to write down a really
Yes,
bad nightmare, right? I mean, in your mind and your consciousness, you want to forget it. And now you're saying write it down, right?
right.
Hmm.
I'm not going to tell anybody that dream work is all rainbows and unicorns, dreams of bliss.
That's true.
Carl
Yeah.
Jung, our grandfather of modern dream work, um, he reminded us again and again that really that it's not all for the faint of heart. That there's a lot of
Oh,
shadow, there's a lot of scary stuff in here. But let me tell you, the only way out is through. The only way to a real experience of blissful dreams or of a more blissful life, no life is all bliss at all, is to go through, to walk through the mud, to walk through the muck.
absolutely.
And dreams are so generous because they give us this sort of virtual reality scenario that's custom tailored for us. It's not a game that's mass produced, right? It's a virtual
Uh-huh.
reality that's custom tailored for us
Yeah.
with what we need to learn, with our fears and our resistance, and we can work it through in this virtual landscape. Again, either asleep or awake when we revisit the dream through art. So, yes, you need to be extra loving and kind to yourself because it's hard work. But when you do so, then you take this out on the road with you. You turn toward the conflicts in your life instead of away from them. You turn toward the difficult aspects in your life. And in our, we can maybe talk about the collective too. We're in a time of great stress and fear and consequence.
Hmm.
And a lot of us are just burying our head in the sand, losing ourselves in YouTube videos,
Right,
not
right.
good ones like your podcast, but ones that are not necessarily helpful for us,
Yeah.
or we're just hiding. However, we hide through shopping, through eating. We have so many ways.
Yeah,
But what
and
if we turn toward things and ask, what can I learn here? Who can I be, instead of turning our back and running away?
we talked about the Brady Bunch also.
Yeah.
And one of my biggest frustrations, and I think one of the things that social media, in terms of the rise of social media or the rise of mental illness coinciding with the rise of social media, is that everybody is trying to convince everybody that they live a Brady Bunch life and you're a loser if you don't live like them. And that's one of the big reasons why I started this podcast, is because folks like you, I mean, real live people who have been there, done that, and are just sharing their real life experiences. And so one of the things that you said was something about analyzing your dreams through your art, consciously through your art. Now, what does that mean? So because I okay, let's take this step by step. I've had a really bad nightmare, and we're going to talk about good dreams too. Um, but I've had a really bad nightmare. I wake up, I calm myself down, I get on my foot massager, I do whatever people have to do, and then I write it down. I write it down in my journal, reluctantly. Um, so then what from that point, I mean, tactically, I mean, what then do I do?
Yeah. So some of the creative acts that you could do is, first of all, just by writing it down, you've shifted the perspective. That's the hard first step, the difficult first step to sit down and do it. But you've shifted
Oh,
perspective. Now you have the pen in your hand, you're in control, and you're making it into a size that you can handle. It's just going to be on a page. You can look at it, you can examine it, it's going to sit still for a minute. So that's a creative act in its way. Then from there, you could shift it to third person. So usually we write, I was running away. You could take your first creative step and write, he or she or they were running
make it
away.
third person.
You're making it a story now, right? And
Okay.
once you have a story, then you get a little distance
Uh,
and you can say, okay, if this was a story in a fairy tale book, what would the message be? What would the meaning be?
Amazing. So now you're not thinking about it in here, you are reading it here. And the other amazing thing, I'm a guy that says face your fears. I mean, if I don't, I was afraid of heights, so I jumped out of an airplane. I was afraid of deep water, so I went scuba diving. But that act of writing it down is kind of an act of defiance. It's a kind of an act of I'm facing you, and that's really cool. And
And
that's
just
where the courage comes in, right? That we talked about a little bit earlier.
and you talked about building a muscle. You build that muscle for courage. So I'm not going to be one who's going to go scuba diving because I'm afraid of the depth. But I could build my courage right there on the page, right? I could build my
Right.
courage just by telling someone a
Interesting.
dream, just by daring to ask, if you had this dream, what might it be telling you? In those kind of conversations, we can start to unpack it a little. You don't need to analyze it, you don't need a degree. There's nothing more natural to the human being than dreaming. We're
Yeah.
hardwired for it. Everyone does it every night. About 6%, no, not always great with remembering exact numbers, but somewhere under 10% of dreams are nightmares. So they're pretty frequent, and in children, even more so. This is all natural, normal, it's built in, and there's nothing built into our being that's not here for our evolution and growth and well-being and healing. And
That's
dreams are
amazing.
no exception.
And
Even
so writing it down, looking at it, making a story of it makes you the narrator.
yes. Yes.
Is that
And if
right?
you're a
And
musician, absolutely. You make a song out of it. If
interesting,
you like to dance
interesting.
in your kitchen, make a dance out of it. You to be a professional
I
dancer.
love that. I love that.
Get out I always have colored pencils right by my desk. I'm no artist, but I'll draw
Oh,
it in my
oh, look at
journal.
you.
I'll
Uh-huh.
sketch it.
Yeah,
All these are
that's
ways
amazing.
to shift your perspective, like you said. So now you're always the co-creator. You're co-creating your dream, and now you're co-creating the meaning.
When you said create a song, instantly the song that came into my mind was "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch," right? I thought that's a nightmare, right? Turned into that's brilliant. That is brilliant. Okay, so let's shift to good dreams
Yes.
because I do have some recurring good dreams and I don't want to get out of them. I want to keep them going. And so uh those we want to write those we want to I mean good good dreams too. We want to write it down and go through that process. And
Absolutely.
if I were to carry forward what you're saying is that you write it down, you create a story,
Mhm.
and okay, so then from there, how does that story help us when we build that story or we build that song? How does that help us from our dreams?
Such a good question. So we are narrative making machines, right? We're narrative making
We're
animals,
storytellers.
right? We
Yeah.
know that because we dream, because every night, without any effort on our part, whether we remember them or not, narratives are spinning out of us. So, what does narrative do for us? Narrative helps us create meaning. So, whatever events in whatever jumble occur, whatever seeming chaos or dissociation, when we create a narrative, we start to thread it together. We start to look for a beginning, a middle, and an end. We start to create or notice some kind of meaning emerging from it, or we make meaning from it, right? We create meaning. So narrative helps us frame things. It helps us manage things. And the stories we tell ourselves are important. So even the stories we tell ourselves about nightmares are important. If the story I tell myself about a nightmare is that this is an adventure that has come to help me learn and grow, versus this is something that I'm overwhelmed by, right?
Yeah.
That's taking me down.
Uh-huh.
And with a good dream too, by putting it into a story, first of all, it helps us remember it, affirm the positive experience, remember and bring into our body those beautiful emotions and
Hmm.
feelings and sensations. Um, all about, what we focus on, right? We seed and we grow. It's like watering a plant, right?
I just wrote down two notes to myself because I didn't want to forget them. I was just gonna say I didn't want to remember them, but whatever. Um, Mindset and story. Okay. So mindset is so, so important. If you have a negative mindset, guess what's going to manifest itself into your life as, or whatever. You know, um, I really do believe that it's mindset. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Right. And so this is going deeper into your mind and drawing out your stories from inside. And I've always told folks, I said, I tell them, write your story, not the
Mm-hmm.
one that you've lived, but the one that you want to live. Write your life story and go live it. Go live it, right? And I want to ask you a question because something I started doing not too long ago was, before I go to bed, I say affirmative words. I say to myself, I am happy. I am loved. I'm forgiven. I'm a good guy. And I say these things, whatever comes up into my mind, and I say it, and it seems like when I remember to do that before I go to bed, I sleep really well. Is there anything there, or is that just in my mind?
Well, I think because you experienced it, that there is something there, but I can help explain it a little bit. And
Yeah, yeah, please.
the dreams. So we can help ourselves have better dreams. Um, but first of all, by acknowledging that even the nightmares are helpful in healing dreams, and so
Okay, good.
not resisting them. But studies have shown that people who go to sleep grateful sleep better and have better dreams. In that case, meaning better, meaning with a more positive affect, right? So part of that is, I believe, also just sort of clearing before bed. So the old adage, don't go to bed angry.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
Sort of do
yeah.
a little a review of the day, what's gone well, what was challenging, and if there's something I need to attend to tomorrow to make an amend, to fix a wrong, let me write that down so I can address it tomorrow. And then you sort of clear in yourself. It's a spiritual
Yeah.
process, really.
You're letting it go.
Yourself.
You're letting it out of here, out of your head, and sticking it on a piece of paper, and then you can let it go.
Yeah, so your dreams don't have to do that work for you. If you're
Yeah.
going to bed with a resentment or something, it might appear as a nightmare. It might appear as an urgent dream telling you, you need to look at this. You can't avoid it. So if you do that work during the day, it's more likely, not a guarantee, but it's more likely that your
Yeah.
dream
Yeah.
doesn't have to do that work for you. And you can go on to other dreams from your deep intuition, from your deep inner guidance, unclouded by the resistance, um, by the challenging emotions of
Yeah.
resentment or fear or all of that.
Interesting. This is really fascinating, because if I'm finding if I'm thinking about something that I have in my head right now, it's letting go. When I do those things, and I'm releasing it out of my head, and I'm saying I am grateful, I am a good guy. I'm letting it go, right? So like you said, so that my dreams don't have to do that work. So it's a real thing.
It's a real thing. And
Ah,
scientists, there have been studies that prove this part about the gratitude, and we can extrapolate from that, that, bringing these positive emotions to bed, shifting our heart from fear or resentment into generosity, gratitude, love. Um, those are helpful and meaningful and impactful practices.
yes. And it's in life, right? Bad things happen, and it isn't a matter of if things are going to happen. It's a matter of how you respond to them. And you can respond to them by confronting them, or you can re and fighting them, or you can respond to them a little bit more kindly,
Mhm.
and work with them.
Yeah.
And I've been fighting my nightmares my whole life. And what you're saying is work with them. Work with them, especially at that moment when you're in a nightmare. And whoa. And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. I love this is brilliant, because when you're in a nightmare, and you're in a nightmare, and you work with your nightmare, you're learning how to work with negative energy. You're learning how to. This conversation is just kind of blowing the top of my head. This is amazing. This is brilliant.
Right. This,
And
this is so important because I think all of us, like yourself, who have experienced, some kind of positive transformation in our lives, feel an urgency right now to share it. Because one thing that John Campbell said, and I'm not going to quote it exactly, but this
uh-huh.
is the meaning, is that our dream is our personal myth, and myth is our collective dream. So each dream is like a little part of our myth, our hero's journey, right? Through conflict and, towards that holy grail, towards getting that deep wisdom. And then myth, our religions, our mythologies, the mythologies
Uh-huh.
we create as a nation or as a group or a tribe, those myths are our collective dream, the dream we all are sharing together. So this reminds me that as a collective, we need to do this dream work, this work on our myth, on our dreams personally and as a group. What are we dreaming up? So if you're feeling scared right now by what you're seeing out in the world, you can
Uh-huh.
use some of these dream work practices, as you were just saying, on that. You can say, okay, how can I find a place of safety for myself from which I can really face this? So I don't think we talk that much about safety, but you want to always keep yourself safe psychically and physically, right? But how can I find that place of safety, get myself grounded, right? So that might be your
Uh-huh.
safety in your faith, that might be your safety in creating some healthy boundaries for yourself. And once I've done that, then let me turn toward it in small amounts. It doesn't have to be any huge gesture.
Right, right. Start off
Maybe
as a white belt,
exactly.
Yeah. Eventually you'll get to black belt if you keep
And your
working at it.
sensei, your teacher will tell you when it's time to move up.
Hmm.
So you always have to be listening and in touch with your best guidance, whether it's from a teacher or from spirit or from your faith tradition. But always be in touch with that so you know when it's time to advance, right? Don't
Right,
push it too
right.
fast.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, that
little
is,
bit goes a long way. It could be instead of somebody telling you something that you disagree with, just shutting down the conversation. It could be just taking a moment there and just say, why do you believe that? Or, when you say that, it makes me feel, and just stay in that conversation, just like staying in that dream for maybe just another beat. It doesn't have to be something big. It could
that
mean
is
reading an article about something you don't agree with, or in any small way, trying to listen to what that fear is telling you.
that is amazing. That is amazing. What's most amazing for me is that I just signed up as a white belt in Dreamworking. You know, and you just giving me and my audience this gift of just awareness of, during our conversation, as you would say something, and I go, oh yeah, and oh yeah, and oh yeah, and this happened, and what about this? The dreams are real. And and folks, we've all heard, Tzivia, that we only use 7% of our brain's capacity, right? Well, what you just kind of opened up to me is that dreaming is part of that. Dreaming is some percentage of that use of your brain. And um and I've just now kind of acknowledged it from the standpoint that there's things we can do with it. And they don't they and we don't just have to, there's a lot to learn from them, is is is
Absolutely.
is my point, that can really, really help us and make our lives better. I love it. Oh my gosh, uh, wow. That's very, very cool. Because everybody's heard it all the time. Write down your dreams. As soon as you wake up, write them down because you're going to forget them. But now you have given us the why. You've given us the why, Tzivia. And now I'm like, okay, now I
Yeah.
understand, right?
Well, I just want to put I love this. I love your enthusiasm, and I love how you're synthesizing what we're saying together
Hmm.
here. So, in terms of the why, some of the concrete benefits that I and the people I work with. So I work with people one on one with their dreams. I do a lot of groups involving writing and dream work, and those groups are to help writers to get more creativity and inspiration in their work, but it's also to help dreamers discover the kinds of things we were talking about, how through writing and doing little writing exercises like we talked about,
Hmm.
you can get more meaning and messages from your dreams. And the kinds of things that are available in the process are guidance on anything from nutrition to how to make a choice that's coming up in your life, how to see more possibilities, like when you're making a decision. Um, Dreams have helped me personally find my next place to live. They literally helped me find my husband when I was in a dating process. I just consulted my
Wow.
dreams after every date.
And are you
They
still married?
and I am
Have to ask a question.
happily so.
Okay, good.
And the dreams help, because just like no life is a Brady Bunch life,
No,
right? So when
that's right.
conflicts come up, the dreams are one of those sort of magic mirrors where sometimes I'll see where, I've fallen short. They're not gonna. I always think of the dream as that best friend who'll tell you when you have spinach in your teeth, right? They're not talk to you and say, "Oh, you look fabulous." They're gonna be like, "No, Sylvia, first go get that
Yeah,
spinach out of your
yeah,
teeth,
yeah,
and then come
yeah.
and smile." So they're going to tell you when you need a course correction. So they help maintain positive relationships. That's been clinically proven through studies that dreams help us with our relationships. They help us move through grief more productively and
Oh my
gracefully.
gosh.
They help with PTSD. They help with all forms of trauma, more mild and more severe. Working with dreams helps us with all of these things. And working with your dreams often helps to either cure nightmares, meaning you have fewer of them or less volatilely charged ones. Or, as we talked about for myself, I get nightmares to this day. I had one just 2 nights ago, but now I know how to work with them so they scare me in the moment, but then I know it's an invitation. And so I quickly move into where is the healing here. So, in all of these different ways, one more thing I want to say is that dreams sometimes also give us warnings. So, I know a lot of people who've gone to the doctor because a dream has told them you need to get a mammogram or you need to get your heart
Oh,
checked. And it turns out that that helps them catch something just in time. So we shut our dreams down at our peril.
wow. Okay.
I know
Okay.
that was a lot, but I want you and your community to know that it's worth working through some of the discomfort and to build up the courage to welcome all your dreams, because some of them you'll never know what they mean, and that's okay. But
y-
if you keep the door open, they can bring you these messages.
Keeping the door open. And so you've opened the door. Ours is to keep the door open, and ours is to learn. If we choose to. There may be some folks out there who just go, yeah, no, I don't buy into this. But if you do, right, just understand that, like we said at the very beginning, and I love the work. I love the word dreamworking, DreamWorks, right? I mean, you got the whole production company out there called DreamWorks, but this is real dream working, and and working our way up to black belt. I mean, we start off just first understanding it, and then we just keep working that muscle.
Well, I have to say, we have to make that belt into a circle, or because that's the way it goes. You'll be doing your dream work and you'll feel like, oh, I'm learning, I'm growing. Now I'm having all these blissful dreams. And then you'll have a nightmare and you'll feel like, oh my goodness, I'm back to white
Well,
belt.
but
So it's a
going back
spiral.
to,
It's
I'll
a
tell you
spiral.
something. I'll tell you something. The people the people in martial arts, in my experience, who get hurt are the people who are brown belts, who have been doing martial arts for 4 or 5 years, because they start to get cocky and one of us puts them in their place. Right? Or somebody puts them in their place. There's a humility that grows with that. And
Yes.
so, yeah, it's
Yeah, dreams keep you humble for sure. Dreams keep
yeah,
you humble for sure.
yeah, that's
Any
wonderful.
anytime I think I'm doing great, my dreams might come in and say, yeah, you might want to
Yeah,
look at
yeah,
this. Because we're
yeah,
never done
yeah,
learning. We're never
yeah.
done growing.
Yeah, take it down one notch, lady. Yeah. And so that's awesome. This has been amazing, Tzivia. I have so enjoyed this conversation. Um, Folks, listen, if you're like me, you just got a ton out of this conversation. And but I want to let you all know the name of her book again is Dreaming on the Page. Tap into your midnight mind to supercharge your writing. So if you want to learn more, Tzivia, where can they get your book?
So you can find me, my books, my one-on-one sessions at my website, of course, Third House Moon, and you just spell it out, third
Third
T-word.
house, third
Yeah,
house
Third House
moon.
Moon.
Moon
And
is in that thing up in the sky at
oh
night.
yeah,
Okay, got it.
absolutely. And I'm on Instagram and Substack, at Tzivia Dreams, Tzivia Dreams, VIA.
TZIVIA. Okay, good, good. Um, wow. Listen, folks, um, enjoy your dreams, right? I mean, and I've personally found that my dreams have made me better, and they have helped me. Now I understand why, and now I know that I'm going to keep building on that.
Yeah.
And
And keep
so,
that door open.
yeah, yeah. So Tzivia, and I just want to let everybody know, Tzivia Gover, Gover. Tzivia, thank you. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for sharing part of your life. Thank you for, it's all about experiences, and you've shared such a wonderful part of your life with my audience that they can take with them.
And
And
I want to
so,
thank you too, John. I love your beautiful work that you're putting out into the world. So much positivity.
yeah, trying. The world needs it, you know. And as I say all the time, I think we all share a collective purpose, and that's to make the world better than the day we landed on it.
I love it.
And with that, folks, thank you for joining us. Tzivia Gover, thank you for joining me. I love you. God bless you. People out there, I love you. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Sweet dreams.